The Sweet 16 tips up tomorrow, and I'm here to break down all 8 games for Thursday and Friday. My name is Cody Mitchell. This is the Bet the Juice podcast. Juice podcast here. Go to the Sweet 16 preview for Thursday and Friday. I'll be back Saturday morning or probably late, actually, Friday night with the Elite 8 games with the recap of the Sweet 16 and kind of just talk about everything we just saw go down in the Sweet 16 from Thursday and Friday, and then we'll have the picks for the 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. Let's go. Obviously, some people aren't super thrilled with the Cinderella stuff. I get it. I totally do get it. It'd be nice to get one in there. But, don't call Texas Cinderella. Texas is not a Cinderella. That is a SEC school with a fuck ton of money. But you know what? These matchups are fucking great. And I'm looking forward to all 8 games. So, as much as, it does kind of suck we don't have that crazy Cinderella, we still have 8 really, really, really fun games, and we're going to talk about them now, and I can't wait to fucking watch them. Right off the rip here, Texas is getting 7.5 versus Purdue, total sitting at 148.5. Texas gets here they were the classic first 4 team to get in and get to the Sweet 16. They beat NC State, beat BYU, and then beat Gonzaga. I actually have BYU in this spot here, beating Purdue. I really like BYU's draw, but DePonte's kind of let me down. I don't care what anybody says. That was the worst 30-point performance I've ever seen. That was just so ball dominant. It was a bunch of bull crap. Purdue obviously knocked off Queens pretty easily. They beat Miami in a somewhat competitive game for a little bit, but ended up pulling away there. The thing here is Texas's shooting has been insane lately, between whether it's Tremont Mark, Dalen Swain, Jordan Pope's been hitting big shot after big shots. The big Euro down low starts with an I. Not even going to try to pronounce his name. I can never get it right. He's been playing really well too, and I think his obviously keys for Texas is you're going to have to figure out a way to stop TKR and Oscar Clough. You got the guys I think that can try to. You're never going to limit Braden Smith. He's the best point guard in the country, but if you can find ways to just slow him down and maybe just get him off his rhythm a little bit, I think you're going to have a little more success. I went back and forth on this one a lot because it is kind of fun. This Texas team is fun. I was on them early in the year. I jumped off them after they cost me a pretty big bet. But I still do like this team. I'm not a big Sean Miller fan. Usually this is the spot in the tournament where he lays down. Now he's a massive underdog. But you know what? He's definitely licking his chops here. Because they get a win against Purdue, you could potentially have Sean Miller go up against Arizona, his former team, in the next round. That would obviously be pretty cool for him. A little bit of revenge there. Here's the deal. Cute story. It's awesome. People might be surprised with this because I've kind of been maybe a Purdue hater majority of the year. It's I know they're good. I know they're talented. I'm respecting these big wins. I get it. But what happens when March comes around? I actually really like Purdue in this spot. I'm laying the 7.5. I think Purdue rolls here. I think Braden Smith controls the tempo of the clock. TKR gets what he wants down low. The front court for Texas, besides the big Euro kid, is weak. Purdue is really good at getting guys in foul trouble, too, and you got a couple guys that can throw down there. Lawyer's been playing some of the best ball down the stretch, too, but I think at the end it's Purdue's toughness and Purdue's I wouldn't say they're just so much more battle-tested because I don't think there's a giant difference between the SEC and Big Ten. I know people are going to think that's crazy, but I'm sorry, it's just the fucking truth. I don't care they had 6 teams this left in the tournament. Not by any means. Your past were the only team I really was wow, really good tournament run there was Nebraska. You get the benefit of the doubt with all the seeding. A lot of those teams shouldn't be in those seeds anyway. It's because you control the market. It's all a bunch of fabricated bullshit. But And if you think I'm wrong, it's just no. The Big Ten controls everything. Your conference wasn't like that much fucking stronger than the SEC, if it even was at all. Yeah, if it even was at all. The Big 12 is clearly the best. You and the SEC can debate with the second one, but I'm gonna say Battle Tested. They just been through the wars. That group's been together for so long, and I think that's gonna come into play here, which it should, and it's going to in the majority of these games. So I'm going to lay it with Purdue. We're locking up every single game. So World Sacks has been going great. We got to keep that shit down. Yeah. Give me the Boilermakers early on here. Lay the 7.5. The later game, sticking to the Big Ten Conference, Big Ten matchup, rivalry game. I was getting a 1.5 against it. Nebraska 131 is the total. Nebraska won 2 home games, essentially. That's why I'm just like, yeah, congrats, you beat Vanderbilt. It was a fucking home game. And a game where you controlled it at the beginning, and then you kind of got outplayed the rest of the way, and you made a couple shots down the stretch. Congratulations. But you were playing in your home. It wasn't your home arena. It was a little bit of a drive, but that was a clear Nebraska crowd. I don't think they're going to get that here. Now, I know some people are like, oh, you're betting. I should get it out of the way. I'm going to take the 1.5 with Iowa. I think Iowa wins the game. People are like, oh, you're picking Iowa because they beat Florida. It's like, no, that's not even. They could have beat the Prairie View A&M if they beat Florida. It's not part of the handicap. Like, look, these two teams are pretty evenly matched. They split during the regular season. Each team won at home. In this tournament setting, I'm going to trust Ben McCollum more than Fred Hoiberg. I think Fred Hoiberg's fine. But Ben McCollum's won all these national titles at the D2 ranks. He's won a tournament game last year. Drake as his 11 seed. He's already got them into a Sweet 16 in year 1 at Iowa. And I'm just going to trust Bennett Sturts. Bennett Sturts had one of the worst games he's ever played against Florida, and they still won the game. Biggest key on the court here is Nebraska is going to try to run. They're going to try to make this into a track meet, and there's one thing that Iowa does better than almost any team in the nation is that it slow the pace of play down, make this ugly, drag them in the mud. And if anything I've ever learned, being a college basketball nerd and just watching the games, it's way easier to slow a team down than it is to speed somebody up. And if I'm going to have a team like Iowa drag a team in the mud, I'm going to trust Ben McCollum more than anybody else. And I'm going to hang my hat with Bennett Sturts, hitch my wagon to the Hawkeyes. I think Iowa wins a close one here. That's why I'm taking the 1.5. Not really worried about the money line at all. There's no value there. Take the 1.5 because this could come down to a point. Maybe Nebraska gets some magic down the stretch and finds a way to, down 2, hits a 3 at the buzzer. They end up losing. You still get the cover here. But in my opinion, I think Iowa advances on here. Give me the Hawkeyes. Next game, we got Arkansas is getting 7.5 against Arizona. 166.5 is the total. This line came down early on from 9.5. I feel like this is the fake sharp play that everybody's thinks they're on here. They're going to get cute with it, try to think they're smarter than everybody else, and take Arkansas. Even if the line's actually, it's really not like that, though, because the splits don't really indicate that. Basically, everybody's money and all the bets are on Arkansas as well. And I get it, because Darius Acuff has been nothing short but incredible for the last month. I feel like I'm the only person that's been out here for 3 months touting he should be in the conversation with a Caleb Wilson, a DeBonsa, a Boozer, a Fleming, and a Darren Peterson. I'm like, why is Acuff not being mentioned? He's incredible. And it's just like, it took the tournament, probably because most modern-day media, like ESPN's dog shit programming, does not actually talk about college basketball until the March Madness. And then suddenly the guys that haven't watched the game all year become their quote-unquote experts. So, yeah, it makes sense. But the thing you haven't watched is Arizona be the best basketball team all season long. From literally the start of the college basketball season to now, they've been the best team. It's really not close. They have the most stacked resume, better than anybody in the country, yes, including Michigan. They played in the toughest conference in the sport in the Big 12, and they had no problems in the Big 12. They have 2 wins over Houston, 1 on a neutral and 1 on the road. They beat Iowa. The only games they lost were they slipped up to Texas Tech, who has a win over Duke, has a win over Houston as well, and has a win, like the win over Arizona. Like, that's a damn good basketball team. That was with JT Toppin healthy. And then they lost to Fall Gallen, which everybody goes to lose to. A lot of teams lose in Fall Gallen. That's just kind of what happens in Fall Gallen, even when Kansas is down. And they didn't even have Darren Peterson when they played Arizona. That's just what happens in Fall Gallen. Granted, they probably ended up being a better team without Darren Peterson, obviously, because he just was not engaged. Like in a paradox universe, if Darren Peterson doesn't play the entire season, I think there's a chance Kansas is still playing. Yeah, and I mean that. Like, I think that was a giant distraction. The dude just wasn't even engaged. I know he didn't play a lot of games. He wasn't engaged like when he was actually playing the games either. Just watch it. You can watch his defensive efforts were terrible. If he didn't get the ball for, a couple possessions, he kind of threw a fit. My dog apparently agrees with me. Yeah. I think everybody's just playing a little prisoner in the moment here and just hopping on this Arkansas and Calipari bandwagon. I'm not. Arizona's been the best team all year. I still think they're winning the national title. I still think this is the team we're going to see left standing when it's all said and done. So I'm going to lock up the Wildcats, too. I think they win this game by 10 to 12 points. I think it's going to be kind of a dogfight right away. So maybe if you're like, do you want to do some Arkansas, maybe a first half thing. But I think when it all comes down to the end of it, Arizona pulls it away, gets this one done. The last game on Thursday, Illinois getting 3.5 against Houston. 139.5 is the total. I think everybody probably knows where I'm going with this one. If you listen to the show, you know one of my favorite things to do when it comes to gambling more than anything is fade soft-ass Euros with a team that is ultra physical. And who is more physical than Houston? I'm not kidding when I say this. I saw a program talking about it wasn't like, I don't want to quote it exactly, but it was something like, is Houston tough enough to deal with Illinois? And I was like, oh, is the Houston Cougars, coached by Mr. Kelvin Sampson, tough enough to deal with Illinois? Huh? I could probably be the toughest motherfucker on Illinois. Now, Boswell, he doesn't count. I feel it because he's a former Wildcat. He played at Arizona. I think that guy's got some shit to him. All those other soft-ass Euros, no. Those dudes flop more than anything you'll see in the frickin' World Cup. And you know what? This game is in Houston, and those calls that they get in the soft Big Ten, it's not happening in this game. It's not going to happen. You try to do those head fakes, not happening. They're going to try all this cute shit, and it's just not going to work. I think Houston absolutely demoralizes this team. Now, I don't think it's a giant blowout because Houston, as soft as they are, I believe, they are still super fucking skilled. That's the thing, though. Like, a lot of these Euros, I think they're going to have a fine time in the NBA because that's just their game's kind of set up for the NBA in the way that it's more a finesse game than it is like a physical sport now. They'll be fine there, but they're all incredibly talented and skilled, and they can all shoot. They make a bunch of shots. They move the ball really well. That's the beauty part that I do like about Illinois, is because it's just beautiful basketball. Like it's like poetry. The way they move the ball, they turn down incredible looks for the most wide open, beautiful shot you'll ever see. They're not selfish. And the ball movement is just so fun to watch. That is something that is so beautiful and poetic about the European style of basketball. The problem is, this is college basketball, and if you don't have a little bit of shit to you, you can get your teeth kicked in. And I think that's exactly what happens. I think Houston punks them right out of the gate, and they win this game by 8 or 9. Houston's the way better team, the tougher team. This is in Houston. The only reason the number's this low is because Ken Palm has this as like a 1. This isn't like another one of those where like, oh, the numbers telling you it seems short, because it does seem short. It's because the computers love Illinois. That's the only reason why this number's low. Houston's a better team. There's a tougher team. They're winning this game easy. I do not know how Houston does not make the Final Four. Like, there's no scenario that plays out in my head that they don't make the Final Four. I just don't. Like, if they win this game, I don't even want to see the bloodbath that ensues against Iowa or Nebraska, because that is just the worst of worst matchups for either one of those two teams. But still got to get through Illinois first. Sampson's got his eyes on a title before he retires, passes this thing out to his son. Houston. In a game where I don't think the scoreboard is going to dictate how big of an actual blowout it is, but they're going to demoralize and beat them up. Let's go to Friday's slate here. St. John's is getting 6.5 against Duke. 141.5 is the total. Similar to this one, I think people know what I'm going to do with this one, because I do have St. John's in my Final Four. I had them in my my second chance bracket as well, still getting there. I'm actually going to get them a title game in that one. Look, I know Shire's throwing out this Caleb Foster stuff that he might be able to play in this game. I think it's a little smoke and mirrors still. I'm not a little fugazi. Don't know if I see that as an actual possibility. And for St. John's, you're coming off a giant. Now, normally I like to fade a team that's actually coming off like an amazing, buzzer-beating win, because you have a letdown here. But like a Patino team, I'm not going to worry about that. The biggest handicap for this one more than anything is, because I actually do think Duke's a pretty tough team, and I think, obviously St. John's is. But without Caleb Foster, Duke has shown that they're vulnerable and can lose games. Now, they've still won all those games, and they've found ways to win those games. So that is a giant reason why I think the plus 6.5 is your first move. So, like, your bigger bets should be on the 6.5, because no matter what, I think Duke they've looked beatable, and they've looked vulnerable against Florida State, a game they could have lost. Clemson, they ended up pulling away pretty easily there. Virginia, they looked beatable. Siena had them on the ropes. TCU had them on the ropes. But they all found ways to win the game, and that's because I think John Shire's an excellent coach. They're ultra talented. Like, don't get me wrong. The difference is Patino is different, though. Like, you're talking about one of the 7 greatest coaches of all time. I think he'll have a game plan ready for anything that Shire throws at him. And how do you stop Duke? It's containing and trying to minimize what Cam Boozer can do on the offensive end. And for St. John's, you have 3 different guys you can throw at him. You have Dylan Mitchell, who is an all-Big East defensive player. You have Zuby Ejiofor, who's a big-bodied center if he tries to post up down low. And then you have Bryce Hopkins, who can throw in there as well. So I think they have the perfect recipe to not neutralize Cam Boozer, but limitate and make him work for every bucket, tire him out a little bit. I still think St. John's wins this game. I think St. John's wins this game. They go to the Elite Eight. They eventually go to the Final Four. I think they go to the national title now that Florida's gone. But I'm going to take that 6.5, and that'll be my bigger bet. But I'm also betting on that money line, too. Let's go, Mr. Rick Pitino. Next up, we have Alabama is getting 9.5 against Michigan. 174.5 is the total. I have no clue how in the hell am I under hitting this baseball game today. No idea. It was 7-0 in the top of the 5th. I had under 7.5. Ends at 7. Beautiful. Okay. Now this one, I went back and forth on a ton. Because Alabama has made every fucking 3 they've made in the last the last 2-3 games, everything has went down for them. And I think Alabama has the capability of beating about any team in the country, but they also have the capability of getting the shit kicked in by them if the 3s aren't falling. Now, there's a clear advantage here with Nate Oates. And I mean, that's the thing I have with Nate Oates a lot in the tournament when I pick him to go out early. It's because I'm taking a chance on a lower seed. But I know the capability of Alabama, and I usually explain that. Like the Hofstra game, I was like, I wouldn't be shocked if they get killed. But that's why I did the 10 thing. If they get up by 10, that's why I was on Hofstra, and they did, and they covered. Or the money line hit because they got up 10, because that's kind of how NATO's style is. But for them, Alabama's got a clear advantage when it comes to the guards position with Philon. All the other guys around him in that backcourt. Obviously, people don't know I'm not a giant Elliot Cadeau fan. I think he does a lot of dumb things in some big moments. The front court's going to be dominated, obviously, by Michigan. Yeah, really, as much as I want to bet Alabama plus the points, I think my bet in this game is just to do like a quarter unit bet on Alabama money line, because if Alabama's making their shots, they're going to win this game. Like 100%. If they're hot like they've been shooting the last 2 games, like they're going to win this game without a doubt 100%. If they're not making a bunch of threes like that, I worry that they're not going to be able to stay within this number and they can get blown out. But at the same time, I don't want to get beat on like some like weird shot at the end. I don't really want to take any part of the spread or anything. I don't want to touch the total. I'm just going to put a little bit on that Alabama money line and see if we can have a little bit of fun on a Friday. It's also the same game. I got 4 TVs set up in the basement. Don't brag, but use that more, but dog work one. The St. John's game's on, so my focus is going to be on that more than anything. I mean, I will have eyes on every game. Easy, obviously, I do with when the round of 64 is going on. But, I mean, I'm really going to be invested in that game. So, it's like, if I just want to take a splash in a money line here, I think this is the game to do it, too. All right, 2 games left here. Michigan State's getting a 1.5 against UConn. 135.5 is the total. Izzo versus Hurley. Awesome, awesome matchup. Jeremy Fears is probably my favorite player to watch in college basketball this year. I just love the way he controls the tempo of a game, how he has the control of the offense. He's just one of the – I mean, he was the assist leader in college basketball. I mean, I'd still maybe favor Braden Smith just because he is the all-time assist leader. But outside of him, Jeremy Fears might be the best passer in the game, obviously. This one's awesome. I've went back and forth 100 times on it because UConn does have the pedigree. They've had the guys that have been through these wars. Alex Caravan's obviously won 2 national titles. They got Brownson in the second round last year, but they took Florida, the national title winner, to the ropes. Had him, probably should have beat him. And then you have Izzo, who's made Final Fours with really bad teams. And I think this team was super talented all year. They kind of, they had their bumps or whatever. Can Jackson Kohler and Kaysen Cooper be able to handle Terrace Reed down low? I don't know. I think that's a different style of big they have to play against versus they did in the Big Ten. He is more of just like I don't even know, like a firecracker big. Maybe that's the thing, where he's just like he's a junkyard dog big, which I think like a Daymara doesn't strike me as that. TKR is not. It's it's the typical old man post move game that we've seen in like the 1980s that your dad and your grandpa really like to watch. Terrace Reed is just a bully, and can those two limit everything he does down low, and can solo ball? What are we going to get from him? Because his last few games haven't really been good. He didn't play well against Furman. He didn't really play well against UCLA. And UConn's really going to need him if they want that to happen. I really don't have a good feel for this one because I really think this can go either way. And I really want to watch it because I think it's going to be awesome, awesome cinema. I ended up picking Michigan State plus the 1.5. That's what we're going to bet. But if it wasn't the NCAA tournament this Saturday, I do not think I'll be watching it. Man, this is going to be... And then lastly on our slate, Tennessee's getting 4.5 against Iowa State. 138.5 is the total. Status of Joshua Jefferson, not the receiver for the Vikings. Joshua Jefferson still up in arms after the injury to the leg. I think he sprained his ankle. To me, just watching it real time, the guy was on crutches. I don't think he's going to play. And if I'm TJ Otzelberger, I think I'm waiting one more game. Let's hold him out for this game. We'll wait till on Sunday. You do have the benefit of being the latest game on Friday. So you literally have the latest time for the Sweet 16 to try to get him back on track. It sucks it happens every year to Iowa State. Tavian Lipsey broke his hand the 1 year. Keyshawn Gilbert got hurt right before the tournament last year. Ottsberger just can't catch a break. I don't think I'm worried about people thinking that Otts is going to take the North Carolina job. He's a Cyclone through and through. His wife was I think a coach there. I know she was an alum there. He's not leaving Iowa State. He makes enough money. I know Carolina is obviously like an intriguing job. It's one of the jobs, but I still think he's staying. So that's not concerning me too much. If I was Otts, I would keep him out for one more game. Make sure he's really healthy because you're gonna need him to beat Michigan if Michigan is there. Obviously, but see if Alabama's making the shots. Another one where I really struggled. I feel like I can see the slate a lot better on Thursday, not as well on Friday. But I ended up actually taking the 4.5 with Tennessee. I trust. It's crazy to say, but he's erased those demons, man. I trust Rick Barnes in March now. I do, and I love the fact that they have a little bit of underdog to him because Rick Barnes normally isn't in this spot. He's always the favorite, and he always gets upset. And now he gets to play this, like the quote-unquote Cinderella. He's a 6 seed, and he's at Tennessee. But, he can play like the nobody believes in his card here. And I think he gets those guys ready. I think Jacoby Gillespie is a guy that you really want in my backcourt when I'm going up against another kind of bully junkyard dog. I hate using the same, little sayings for two different guys, but that's just kind of what Lipsy is. He's a junkyard dog. You got a guy that can go up against him and kind of, if you're going to bring some shit, I'm going to bring some shit too. Nate Amend, he's got to play better down the stretch in the big spots of games. He's kind of done a lot of dumb shit. But I'm going to trust Rick Barnes to keep this close. My heart is praying Iowa State wins this game, but Tennessee covers. Iowa State also worries me without one of your better stars. They're going to defend always. They're always going to defend. But Iowa State can do this thing where I call it the West Virginia. They just don't score for 8 minutes. It hasn't happened a lot when Justin Jefferson's in the lineup, but without him, it does worry me a little bit. So that's basically all I got. I'm going to take Tennessee with the points. I'm going to pray for an Iowa win by 3. That's what we're going to do. Well, I will be back Friday night, late, probably midnight. It's going to be later than that. Game's probably going to start at 10:30. Probably about 1 in the morning to record all the picks for the 2 Elite 8 games on Saturday and the 2 Elite 8 games on Sunday. Until then, I'll see you guys. Cheers. See you guys.